Your friends aren't going to see what you are sleeping on, probably. So why are you buying it? You're buying it so you can tell yourself a story, that you're the kind of person that can spend $150,000 on something you're going to use in the dark at night by yourself or with one other person. This is the Caliburn Turntable. Costs $160,000. It does sound a little bit better, but that's not why you bought it. Or consider Pete Hutchinson. Pete makes LPs, records, right? And his records cost about 300 pounds each. This is a luxury good. It is a limited edition, letterpress printed luxury good for a smaller group of people. Or a wallet. Now, you can buy a wallet for a lot of money. This one's only $50, but it works because someone can afford to sell it online, right? That suddenly they don't need to open a store in the heart of Paris to sell a luxury good. They just need to find a group of people who want it. I could talk forever about how the watch industry is about to change for the same reason. Shinola watches in Detroit, right? Or the JS Watch Company in Iceland. These people are able to enter the watch market without actually knowing how to make watches the way they make them in Switzerland, because the technical problems are over. We don't have a technical problem making luggage. We don't have a technical problem making those beautiful handbags you saw this morning. We are selling something different. All right, and the last part of this, as we shift the story, is this. Aman Naderi, a researcher, discovered in some very sophisticated tests that if you are going to sell something that purports to be green, good for the environment, thoughtful, a luxury good, the more you charge for it, the more likely it is that people will think it's better and that it's more green, that the act of purchasing this item is saying something about yourself. So most of you weren't around in the 1800s when the luxury industry really figured out itself. You didn't know Colbert, who invented the whole thing. And so we've been in an industry for hundreds of years that had the rules established. What are luxury goods? What aren't luxury goods? Where are they sold? How much do they cost? Right? But can an axe be a luxury good? The fact is that Graham Cameron and his partner decided that they could. And they found an axe maker. They decided that an axe, a beautiful axe, a hand-painted axe, would be sufficiently interesting, tell enough of a story that people would seek it out. And their brand is worth millions and millions of dollars. It wasn't around 5 years ago. It couldn't have existed without the internet. Because what the internet did was connect them to people who were looking for what they sold, but more important, connect the people who were buying it to each other. At the same time, the internet took this brand down. A chocolate company in Dallas, their biggest outlet was Neiman Marcus. Neiman Marcus, the pillar of luxury in the United States. They were selling this chocolate for $3,000 a pound. They were buying Belgian chocolate for $18 a pound, melting it down, making it into a new shape, and putting it in this box, right? But someone on the internet wrote a 9-stage article, each one of the pages 5 pages long, 45 pages, analyzing this product and explaining to people basically, if you buy it, you are a fool. And so suddenly it's not, look at my bag, aren't I smart and rich? It's, look at my chocolate, I'm an idiot, easily fooled. The story is what we sell when we sell luxury goods. Now, the internet cuts both ways. You've all heard of Kickstarter and Indiegogo. So here's someone who goes on Indiegogo and says, you know what? Let's make metal credit cards, because that's what luxury is. You can flash it around. We'll announce it. We'll raise $150,000. They sold $1,000 worth of these metal cards, and then they failed. Because the internet isn't a free version of television. It is not a free version of GQ. It is not a free version of Vanity Fair. When you run an ad in GQ, GQ brings you the people who will see the ad. But when you show up on the internet, it's crickets. People aren't going to pay attention to you unless they get something in return. Because pay attention is a dangerous phrase. It means you want me to pay you my attention without giving me something in the first place. So we have marketplaces here. Here's an ad I saw on eBay, right? This is a Keaton suit. If I walked down the street in New York to buy it, it would cost me $10,000. Here it is new with tags for $1,000. So when you look at the internet and you say, the internet is great because it will give us this free way to reach everybody, I'm saying to you, wait a minute. The internet is going to disintermediate those expensive stores you're running. The internet is going to make it so that if all I'm looking for is to acquire the good you make, I can probably buy a counterfeit that no one can tell apart, and I won't buy it from you. Or I can buy it from a retailer who's going to disintermediate you for a lot less money. Or a new vendor will come along, like the person I bought this really cool suit from online, who I have never met, right? 18 different measurements, a custom-made bespoke suit. Look, you got the little buttonholes that open. You got that right there. The point is, it was $395 US because I was looking for him and I found him. And that once I find him, he has a connection to me and can talk to me ongoing about what he makes, right? That is really dangerous if you're in the suit business. Because here's someone in the suit business trying to find me, and there's somebody else who already has found me. So if you're in the business of telling a story to people, what you have to figure out how to do fast is tell stories to people who want to hear them, as opposed to paying a landlord so you bump into people who didn't even know you were there. Now, this is very disturbing, so you should avert your eyes if you're easily disturbed. This is a company called undeadteds.com, and he makes a luxury good that no one in this room wants to buy. He takes teddy bears, and he takes them apart, and he makes them grotesque zombies, and sells them, it's true, for 420 pounds each, right? By every definition of a luxury good, this is a luxury good. And if you're the kind of person that wants to show your friends that you can afford a 420-pound animatronic teddy bear, you're going to buy it. And he's selling them all out because he has a connection to the people who want to buy them. So we need a chart. Here's our chart. The market is changing in the following way. The middle is being completely sucked out. If you sell average stuff to average people, you are over. If you sell stuff that's slightly above average for a slightly better price, you are over. The market only wants the cheapest, I don't care, get me out of here, or it wants a story that they can tell themselves and the people around them that's worth the money. And in the middle, not a lot of room. And over and over and over again, the internet, because it makes it so easy to compare price and so easy to compare value, destroys the people who are sort of good. God forbid you run a hotel that's pretty good, because if I go to hotels.com, sort by price is only one click away. And so I can see how many stars, I can see how many ratings, and I can see the price. No longer is there room for someone who's got a pretty good dark room, because they're all pretty much the same at night at 3 o'clock in the morning, dark and quiet. Okay, so I don't know if you've ever seen one of these before. This is called a record album. And I carry it around with me because it captures the essence of what it is for an industry to be perfect. And I want to argue that in 2012, the luxury goods industry was perfect, just like this industry was in 1973. In 1973, if I had a record and I liked it a lot and I loaned it to you, I wouldn't have it anymore, so I'd have to buy another one. Or I'd wear it out and I'd have to buy another one. Where would I go to buy another one? A record store. We used to have them. They were stores where you could go to buy lots of records that the industry didn't pay for, the store owner did. And then I'd go to the store, I'd buy a bunch, I'd drive home, I'd turn on the radio. The radio was this thing that had a spectrum in it that we could only listen to 10 different stations. And what did the stations do? Nothing but sell this over and over again for free to the record industry, promoting music. I'd check my mailbox, there'd be Rolling Stone magazine, I'd turn on the TV, there'd be MTV, all of which existed to make this industry better. And we all know what happened. It only took 5 years. The industry went from perfect to impossible. Every record ever recorded available to every person on earth who has a smartphone for free whenever they want it. More music than ever before, listened to by more people, made by more musicians. That's impossible. If you had said to anyone 15 years ago that that was going to happen, everyone would have told you that was impossible. And now it happened. That's what revolutions do. They destroy the perfect, and then they enable the impossible. Well, right over there are 3D printers. Those are impossible, right? The idea that someone can make a copy of anything anyone in this room makes pretty much, that the non-expert can't tell apart, already impossible. That the industry that was perfect, invented by Colbert in this arrondissement, perfect for a really long time, about to be replaced by something that's impossible. And you say, wait, this is not fair. You say, who thought this up? Because right now, I am where I want to be. who designed this idea of the future? And I'm here to tell you it wasn't my idea. But it's really easy to look at the future that the internet will bring, like it has brought to every other industry, and say, this is really bad news. And so I'll take a moment here, and we can commiserate about that. But I can now move to the good news, because I don't think it's really bad news. I think that if you are eager and optimistic in the luxury goods industry, this is a golden moment. And the reason it's golden is not because of China and not because of Brazil and not because of the increasing wealth of the 1%. It's golden because now, for the first time ever, you can treat different people differently. Then when someone walks into one of your retail stores, you have no idea who they are and you have no idea what they want, and you have a limited number of SKUs you can create and sell. But what the internet does is it says, wait a second, let's look at this normal distribution. And I don't know how many of you studied stats, but you've heard it called the normal distribution. The reason it's called the normal distribution is because the people in the middle are normal, and the people on the edges are weird. And then what you're supposed to do if you're a mass marketer, and all of you are mass marketers marketing to the masses of wealthy, it's still a mass market, you run a big ad in a big magazine, you're supposed to market to the people in the middle, because there are more of them. That you need to be in the middle, you have to be on the right block in Paris. You have to figure out how to have the right line of products, because that's what the average rich people want. But what's happening, thanks to the internet, is the curve is melting. That when you give people a choice, they take the choice. That if you get a tattoo, you think you're really cool, then you go online, you see you need 18 tattoos, all of a sudden you're all the way over here with the many tattooed people. Or you buy a fly fishing rod, and you think fly fishing's really cool. Then you realize, no, I gotta go get the ultralight left-handed bamboo fishing rod made in Belgium by monks, because the people who are really into fly fishing, that's what they want. So in every segment, what happens is the people who care are going to the edges. The people who care don't want the average stuff. And if all you're going to be able to do in the future is sell to people who don't care, who just happen to be wandering by or need to fit in to their little tiny rich community in Dallas, you're not going to be able to grow. Look at this list of billion-dollar brands, every single one of them built without television. How did they do it? They did it by catering to the weird. Every single one of these brands is for people who care. Not for the masses in any segment, but for the people who sought them out, for the people who would miss them if they were gone, right? That is where the opportunity goes. That's where all the growth is. Not getting a couple percentage points in market share because you use the internet better than the other guy. Right? It's a whole different way of thinking. A different way of saying this is this. If your business is built on the model that you can buy something like this from anyone, and we're anyone, you're not going to win. Because people are too smart to keep paying a premium for something they see copied every single day. That sooner or later it's going to flip and it's going to say, I'm silly enough to have paid extra for this, not I am hip enough or cool enough or rich enough to have paid extra for this. No, the future looks like this. We are leaving the industrial economy, the one that says we know how to make suitcases here in Paris better than anyone else, and we are entering the connection economy. That value is created today not because you know how to make something, but because you know how to connect to people who care. And the brands who connect to people who care will always win, and the ones who don't will lose. Matt Ridley famously said, there's no one on earth who knows how to make a computer mouse. Not one person can make a computer mouse. You need software people and hardware people and project management people and everything else, right? Together, we create value. Together with your customers, organizing people, connecting them, is where value comes from. Look, you know, Alice and the family built this conference today. Value was created because we connected here today. So let's think about this connection economy. One, coordination. Today's Tuesday. You weren't here last week. You're not going to be here next week. Value is created by being together in sync. Number two, trust. There are people in this room you have never met, but merely by what they do and how they act and the way they think, you can already trust them. You can already trust them to talk about what you do. You can already trust them to feel like you were in a room with fellow travelers. Number three, permission. I'll take a little credit. The privilege, not the right, but the privilege to talk to people who want to be talked to connect to people who want to hear from you, people who would miss you if you were gone. And the fourth one is the exchange of ideas. All of us are smarter than any of us. If you can figure out how to create a community of people who are connected, your brand thrives. The surprising thing is all of this is based on two underlying pieces, generosity and art. Generosity, because no one wants to connect to the selfish. No one wants to connect to someone who's saying, take, 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 take. And art, and that's what you guys are so great at. Art saying, a human made this. Art says, I can't get this from someone else. Art says, this might not work. Art is what we do when we are connecting to someone else. So I did a blog post a couple years ago. Someone turned it into a cool picture. Some people think marketing is buzz and spin and hype and ads and clicks and likes. That's not what marketing is. Some people think it's your price or your tribe or your story or your community, and that's certainly part of it. And part of it is the usability and support of what you offer, but mostly it's the product or the service. You cannot look at the internet and say, I'm not going to change my product, I'm not going to change my service, but we're going to thrive. You have to reinvent all of it right to the core. What is it that we do here? What is it to be connected to what we do? And if I could ask one rhetorical question about this, it's simple. The first guy who had a fax machine, what exactly did he do with it? You can think about that for a little bit. The magic of the fax machine is it doesn't work unless other people also have one. So you told everyone you knew to go get one. Another quick question. How many of you, just quick show of hands, how many of you are on Twitter? Raise your hand. How many of you found out about Twitter from that sponsorship of the World Cup and the big TV campaign they did? Nobody. You all found out about Twitter from someone who was already on Twitter. And why did she tell you? Because she needed followers on Twitter. So the more people you tell, the more followers you get, the better you do. So your industry has been based for hundreds of years on scarcity. Hundreds of years on, you have this, other people don't. That was the model, exclusivity and scarcity. Guess what? As we heard earlier, the internet is about abundance. That the people who win on the internet are the ones who realize that I need to connect to lots of people. That the more, if you run a factory that makes a leather good and everyone in town comes and takes a free sample, you will go bankrupt. But if you run a business that makes ideas and everyone comes and takes a free sample, you win. Totally different way of looking at the world. So on my way over, this is what it looks like, right? This can't scale. This just isn't going to work. On the other hand, this is a luxury good. Chris Anderson owns a luxury good company that is growing faster than yours. And the luxury good Chris Anderson sells is being in a room with 2,000 other people like you, by admission only, by application only. You get in or you don't get in. And if you get in, no one complains about paying the money. That's a luxury good. Costs more than it needs to, right? Worth a lot, the only place you can buy it. If you think about the future of luxury goods this way, what you realize is that you need a tribe. You need a group of people who share an outlook, a point of view, a connection. And we all grew up with only 3 tribes in our lives, right? We grew up with a spiritual tribe, we grew up with a work tribe, and we grew up with our community tribe. But now they're everywhere. Even here in Paris, we have the Red Hat ladies. In hundreds of cities around the world, getting together over lunch, having a few drinks, getting uppity, right? Either you're in or you're out. In Hawaii, the Ironman triathlon, the Red Hat guys, they pay $15,000 to go to Hawaii to enter the triathlon and lose. Why? Right? They don't have water where they live or places to ride their bike? No. They go, not because they're going to win, because they're not. They go to be with the other Red Hat guys. It's a pilgrimage. It's also a luxury good. Or these Red Hat guys who train all year round for the big day. It's the training that gets them excited, not the big day. Star Wars convention. I can't resist putting this one in because if you were going to go to a Star Wars convention, would you dress up as one of the stormtroopers who always gets killed in every single scene and has to wear the helmet? Or the Star Trek convention. You know, either you're in or you're out. This is also a luxury good. So now I want to get to the essence of fashion and challenge you to do a quick little test. I'm going to time you, and we'll see if this crosses boundaries of international, etc. Go ahead. Okay, stop. 11 seconds. Not bad, not bad. One group took 28 seconds. I was sweating bullets. How did you know at which rhythm to clap? How did you know to go fast, fast, faster, slow, slow? Did someone stand up and say, everybody, follow? How did you figure it out? Right? Well, it turns out human beings are wired to do this. We like doing what other people are doing. Look around the room. Is there anyone here wearing a prom dress? Is anyone wearing a tuxedo? Not that I can see. How did you know how to dress? Was there a memo? Did someone say, did Alice send everyone a note saying, everyone dress like this today? No. Human beings are good at doing what other human beings are doing. We're good at figuring out what the tribe wants. So our job now as tribe leaders is to communicate to our tribe, to connect them to one another, to commit to where they're going, to create a culture on purpose, to be clear about our goals, and to challenge the tribe to go to the next level. Do you understand that if you do this, as opposed to just trying for another foot of shelf space at Neiman Marcus, everything changes, right? That if you look at Harley Davidson, this is all they do. This is a brand that's worth billions of dollars in the US. It's not for me, it's not for you, but for the people who it's for, it's the one and only one. And that's what you have to do to build a luxury good in the internet era. You have to be the one and only one without a substitute. Now, the cool thing is the Beatles did not invent teenagers. They just showed up to lead them. Bob Marley did not invent the Rastafarians. He just showed up to lead them. That there are people who are waiting to be connected because we are all lonely, because we all feel disconnected, because we want someone to say, follow me. So one of my favorite stories about this that has nothing to do with your industry is this. In the US, until recently, 4 million dogs and cats were captured and killed every year by the humane societies and SPCAs in my country. That was their job. Written down, their job was to find and kill innocent dogs and cats, usually within 24 hours, 4 million a year. My friend Nathan Winograd went to work for the SPCA in San Francisco. He was not in charge. He had no budget. He had no authority. He saw this was happening. He could not abide it. Nathan went to the city council of San Francisco, tried to get the law changed. He was voted down, couldn't do it. So instead, he went to the people of San Francisco. But not all the people of San Francisco, just a few ones, weird ones, people who cared about this issue. And in less than 90 days, Nathan Winograd raised enough money and, more important, enough volunteers that San Francisco became a no-kill city. Not one dog or cat that's healthy has been killed in San Francisco since that day. And you say, well, that's easy. It was San Francisco. Well, Nathan left there and went to rural Tompkins County, New York, and did it again. And then he went to Raleigh-Durham, North Carolina, and he did it again. And then he went to Reno, Nevada, and he did it again. And now there are 500 cities around the world with no-kill shelters because this one man made a movement, and he made a movement by connecting people who wanted to be connected. For 1 million years, the only way we fed ourselves was by hunting. Hunting, only recently, 10,000 years ago, was replaced by farming. Farming, only 200 years ago, was replaced by jobs. The idea that you would go to somebody and say, tell me what to do all day, is brand new. In Paris, in 1550, 500 years ago, the unemployment rate was 0. And the reason it was 0 is there were no jobs. Right? They either worked in the family business or you were a farmer or you were a serf. There were no jobs. We just invented jobs, and jobs are now starting to go away. Because if I can write down what your job is, I can find someone cheaper than you to do it. Someone who doesn't necessarily live in this country or this village. Right? So what's left? What's left is art. What's left is the opportunity for people with taste and care to make art. Right? So when Marcel Duchamp did Nude Descending a Staircase at the Armory show, he nearly caused a riot. We can agree that this is art. We can agree that Pablo Picasso made art. We can agree that Jackson Pollock made art. But did you know that Jackson Pollock had a brother? His brother was Charles Pollock. Charles Pollock was a painter, not an artist. You never heard of Charles Pollock because Charles Pollock painted just like his teacher did. All Charles Pollock did was follow instructions. He didn't make art. Joseph Beuys was an artist working in felt. William Shakespeare was an artist working with words. And there's Marcel Duchamp again making a urinal, right? Now the thing is, the first person to install a urinal into an art exhibit caused a riot and was an artist. The second person was a plumber. And that's the distinction. The distinction, the question is, will you become plumbers? There's a village in China called Dauphin where they paint 1/3 of all the oil paintings in the world. Have you been? My China expert, I'm sorry, I forgot your name. Jonathan. So in China, in Dauphin, they paint 1/3 of all the oil paintings. You can buy a Chuck Close, anything you want, on the street in China. The Mona Lisa, $29. Now, why is the Mona Lisa $29? Because it's not the Mona Lisa. Because it's a copy of the Mona Lisa. It's worth $1. It's not worth, because for the rest of your life, you have to have people come over and say, that's not really the Mona Lisa. And have this whole story about how you were too cheap to buy the real Mona Lisa, right? And so, what it means to be in the luxury goods business is to do the difficult work of being an artist, not Charles Pollock. That if all you're doing is copying what the generation before you in this job did, you will fail and you are not adding enough value, right? We need to ask this simple question. Why are we making luxury goods? What are they for? If we can't get to what are they for, and I'll give you a hint, it's not for carrying your wallet, we've got to figure out how to make it work better. The internet comes along and it destroys every industry. You've seen the free hugs thing on YouTube. It's very funny. This guy does not think it's funny because they're selling counterfeit hugs, and he worked really hard to be able to sell expensive hugs. They don't care. They're still going to make free hugs. And the same thing is going to happen to anything that's just physical. It cannot be just physical. The Italians have this great expression, which is salto mortale, which means a dangerous leap, a leap into the void, right? This idea that we can take a deep breath and go forward, but we can do it with enthusiasm, with gusto, ready to go. Here's the problem. In every industry, I've seen it before. Why doesn't Hilton own Airbnb? Why doesn't Random House own Google? In every industry, the people with the resources say, it's too soon. I need more proof before we leap into the next thing. It's always too soon. Big headline here. When Gutenberg launched the printing press, 94% of the people in Europe were illiterate. This is a really dumb time to launch a printing press. No one knew how to read. Right? When Carl Benz launched the car, he needed a letter from the head of Germany because it was against the law to drive a car. Not only that, there were no roads. Not only that, there were no gas stations. Not only that, there were no all-night drive-through liquor stores. This was a really bad time to launch the car, but he did. Right? Or when AOL and CompuServe launched the online services in the US, right? Or Minitel. There was no fast, high-speed internet connection. What a dumb time to launch an online service. But it's the only time, because there's a difference between being ready and being prepared. You better be prepared. You better have done the homework, have a good and a service that's worth talking about. Have a story that's true. But you will never be ready. Because ready means there's no voice in the back of your head saying, oh, this is going to fail. There's no voice in the back of your head heckling you. There's no voice in the back of your head pointing out that an alligator will eat you, that you will fall off a cliff, that a shark will land on your house if you shift your business model, right? No, you cannot be ready. And we've taught you that since you were really little with the story of Icarus. Don't fly too high. Don't have too much hubris. Don't you dare get too big for your britches. That one of the challenges in France as we approach a real entrepreneurial age is that entrepreneurship is all about doing it before you're ready and all about failing. And what we have to figure out culturally, and that's why I love this building and what's happening here, culturally, how do we make it so that you're more embarrassed to not fail than you are to fail? That it's socially unacceptable to sit still in this moment. One of my favorite slides of my whole day is this one. This is the Solvay conference. It was held in 1927 for physicists. You may recognize people here. There's Albert Einstein, Marie Curie, Niels Bohr, the guy who, I guess, invented the atom. Here's the thing. There are 29 people in this picture. 17 people in this picture won the Nobel Prize in physics. And almost all of them won it after the picture was taken. You didn't get invited because you won the Nobel Prize. You won the Nobel Prize because you got invited. Because you looked around and you said, wait a minute, I can do this. I have a shot at doing this. This could be the Solvay conference if you want it to be. That someone is going to reinvent what it is to say, people like me buy stuff like this. Because if you don't have that sentence at your back, you're not going to be able to scale. So yeah, this picture that Yves Klein created before Photoshop is really powerful. But guess what? It's faked. It really wasn't that dangerous. It really wasn't that dangerous. We need more hubris from you. We need you to say, look, I'm already selling to the richest people in the world. I'm not dealing with surgery on small children. I am doing something that is based around luxury and joy and beauty and art. What can I do with that? Steve Pressfield has this word, the resistance. The resistance is that voice in your head that wants you to lay low. And when you get to work with the resistance, it makes you act like a sheep. So back to my idea of the umbrella. One of the greatest American films of all time, Singing in the Rain. What you may not remember is in the key scene, he has an umbrella, and he's not even using it. Because the movie's not called Singing with an Umbrella. The movie's called Singing in the Rain. The rain is the whole point. The vulnerability is the whole point. The vulnerability to say to your market, this might not work. Please come along, but we're not sure. Please introduce yourselves to each other. We don't know if you're going to like each other, but we think you will. What we're looking for people to do is to have the guts to care enough to be worth talking about. I hope you'll do that. Thanks for your attention. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.